Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Build It and They Will Come in the Akhund Forbes podcast series. We have today with me one of the leaders of the accounting professions in Pakistan. He is a chartered accountant by training, and it would be fair to say one of the leading deal advisors in Pakistan. He started his career at KPMG and very recently, at the beginning of this year, went on to become the managing partner of KPMG Pakistan. Mr Adnan Rizvi, thank you very much for being here with us today.
Pleasure.
So Adnan, we've known each other for a while now, and I've always admired your the way you deal with clients, the way you deal with professional services, and really it reminds me of something that lawyers are told and come to realize very early on, that our profession is a calling. Right? And for you, I would like to know what your views are about this profession, the accounting profession. I feel that it is a calling for you as well, especially the way I've seen you deal with clients. We've been on transactions together. And what would you say about that?
Thank you, Rabel, first of all, for giving this opportunity. And it's always a pleasure to interact with you, and I'm sure that this is going to be an exciting discussion. Yes, indeed, I would say that I won't delve into the details of how my career path came through, but it can be termed as a calling, certainly, where I came to the chartered accountancy profession. This is certainly a very prominent and a very sought after profession globally. And in Pakistan, it is sort of a mythical area. But I definitely there must have been reasons why I was convinced to join this, and this was my decision solely. It was not my family or anyone in the extended family at all. So maybe with some friends or reading some material or listening to some things, but I came through. But when I came in this profession, I definitely realized two things. One was that the client interaction was something which I enjoyed a lot, and especially the most difficult clients. Now, this is somehow, I'm sure that this must have been due to my upbringing primarily. Also then some of the friends and family and all those impressions that from day one, when I went on my client, I always wanted to deal with the most difficult person in that organization as part of my audit team, and I took pride in the fact that those of my colleagues who were not willing to go to a certain guy because he's very difficult or he has that reputation from the past audits. So I said, let me deal with this guy, and always did that successfully. So that part I enjoyed a lot. But then the other part was when you had to actually do the difficult stuff in terms of the paperwork and the filing and all that.
Absolutely.
And one other interesting anecdote is that when I was going on a secondment to our KPMG London office on completion of my qualification, so the interviewer in the British consulate asked me that, okay, so you are going to UK for, so the UK qualification is certainly much more premium qualifications. Just going there to get the exposure in my firm. I've had this qualification in Pakistan. I consider that to be the best training one can get on a practical level. And in Pakistan, we have experienced, I have, like in our firm, people go to multiple global, regional, international firms, and everywhere the training which we've had in Pakistan has stood out.
So you started your career with KPMG, and then where else were you seconded?
So this was the only secondment internationally. Locally, I think one secondment which was a game changer for me, I would say, was my secondment to one of the clients, and I would like to mention specifically the CEO at that time, Mr Rahman.
Yes.
He has had a great influence on my career in a positive way.
I see.
Because I was very junior at that time, maybe 1 year into my training.
I see.
4-year training, and there was some special assignment on which I got involved. He came in new, and it was a public sector organization. So till his arrival, it had never happened in the history that a private sector person had run that organization.
Yes.
So when he came and he got a lot of resistance, and then KPMG was there, and he sort of worked with KPMG. I was part of the team, although a very junior member of the team, but somehow he figured that I have got the hang of how things are happening, and he sort of selected me from the team and asked our partners to second me for a 6-month period.
I see.
And during that period, I worked very closely with him, and the advantage which I got of that interaction was that after that, I never got overawed by any senior sort of professional, because I was too junior, he was the highest level of his, and also he was a England Wales qualified chartered accountant, so everything fitted in, and that experience psychologically made me so strong on a day-to-day basis, without him actually training me or giving me any lectures, just by way of working with him.
It was just that whole experience that you took on. And
so that was my secondment locally. Then I completed my articles and qualified, and then I was seconded to KPMG London office for 2 years. That's it. Otherwise, I will spend the rest of my career in the Karachi office.
I see. And over the years, if we were to talk about the accounting profession, it has changed, right? It has developed, it has changed, as has the legal profession as well, particularly in the M&A deal advisory space. And there are lots of things going on globally amongst professional services firms, particularly the accounting firms. How has that experience been for you here in Pakistan, having seen your own career sort of from starting off in audit and then transitioning to corporate advisory?
Yes. Yeah, indeed. Like everything else, change is inevitable. And this profession has also changed. In some areas, it has grown much more on a commercial side of things and opened up. In some areas, it has closed down a bit.
That's right.
So as far as the audit side of it is concerned, that is something which has become much more tough, I would say, as compared to when I started my career. But the other areas, especially the advisory area, that has really sort of opened up. And there are areas in advisory which we could not have imagined maybe even 10 years back, that professional services firms would venture into those areas. So, as I mentioned, audit side of the profession has really become
very demanding, and then there are the international demands as well, because if you're consolidating accounts with your parent company in perhaps
and
UK,
firms like us who have got global brands have got additional conditions, because there are a lot of conditions which our audit colleagues have are not really the local laws. It is the KPMG's
own methodology
conditions. And KPMG, like with all other big professional firms, they consider the same conditions to be applicable wherever they operate. So regardless of the size and the volume and all, audit is one area. The other area which is very tough and which is very demanding is the risk management area. So that is, we have seen over the years that this has become really stricter over each year.
And there's good reason for that, right?
Certainly.
And it's all justified. It's at the end of the day, it's client protection. It's because as professional service providers, we act in the best interests of our client. And risk management is something that helps us be stewards and custodians of the profession and the client.
Certainly. And it permeates every area, but that actually gives us the comfort that whatever we have, whatever has filtered through and whatever has been checked at the risk management stage.
Absolutely.
Now you can go and confidently take on that client and provide those services. So that is certainly a big comfort in a way, but that process itself is very demanding.
And absolutely, and rightly so to an extent. Yes.
As you asked that how the profession has grown, so the professional services firms now have the opportunity to provide sort of experiences and provide employment to a broader segment of the society as compared to what they were doing 10-20 years back. So now we are taking on people who would never have thought that they would join a professional services firm, like the IT graduates or the IT specialists, cyber security, data analytics. Now ESG is the new area.
I'm glad you mentioned that because Akhund Forbes has also recently launched its own ESG advisory arm, and for a law firm to provide sustainability services is relatively new. I think we are one of the first ones, not one, but we are the first ones in Pakistan to do that within the legal sphere. And the accounting firms are also doing that.
Yes.
And how exciting is that?
Yeah, in terms of recently I attended in Tokyo, I went to attend this one of the KPMG sort of global leadership sessions where the global chairman Bill Thomas was there, and the latest strategy which is being deployed in KPMG is called the Collective Strategy 3.0.
Okay.
It started from 1.0, then 2.0, now it's 3.0, and in that, while we were mentioning ESG is termed as something which is a watermark across all services. This is the term which is used.
Absolutely.
It is a watermark across all services because it is not restricted to it. So it is like advisory, audit, tax, everywhere.
Across the board.
It is everywhere.
Yeah,
so I think this is the most exciting area alongside technology is something which certainly is also present everywhere, omnipresent, basically, right? And within technology, there are so many facets which are opening up every other day. That one keeps on learning.
And even more so now with the introduction of AI.
Exactly.
It just becomes.
Yes.
But I'd like to talk a little bit about the role of advisory firms in the larger economic growth of the country, particularly Pakistan. I mean, you've seen privatization. You've been involved in major privatizations, major M&A transactions. Where are we today, and where do you see a firm like yours, KPMG, providing that support for the economic landscape?
Yes, I think we have by default, probably not by design, firms like us have contributed to the economic development of the country. But just because we were there and we were part of some of the projects and we were part of these initiatives like these public-private partnerships.
Of course.
And similarly, that is another form, like privatization is just one extreme, but public-private partnership is something in between. So we've been part of these for a long time.
Yes.
And if you look at it from a corporate governance point of view, so even being the auditors of these public sector entities and others and all that, you definitely add value and you give comfort to the shareholders, the stakeholders and all that, a firm like KPMG. So there is this confidence. So firms like us, not only KPMG. But what I feel is that we can do a lot more. We can certainly do a lot more, and this feeling I get when I interact with my international colleagues, especially during the time of COVID, when I saw that a lot of people, when there were different calls and they were narrating instances where they had supported their governments in terms of some data analytics tools, developing those or doing some other stuff around that. So that is something which I feel, and I also share with my colleagues, with generally people say competitors, I always say that colleagues of mine in PwC, in EY, Deloitte and other firms, that this is something which is incumbent upon us because we have such a large database and such a large knowledge base globally that I don't think that that has filtered through locally. And we can do a lot more in terms of bringing that global knowledge to the local scene.
Yes.
And for that we have to be proactive. And this is something which I feel that the discussion we are having is also one of those things which is on a proactive basis.
Indeed.
So it is not something which a client has asked us, or a government organization has asked us, or one of our international outfits have asked. So these are the things which when you keep venturing into proactive sort of activities, and you see that you connect when you attend, for example, any global sessions or read any global material or thought leadership and all, and you try to connect it locally.
Indeed.
That how can this be applied. There will be a lot of things which may not be able to apply right now, but there are certainly certain areas in which you can at least attempt to give advice.
Yes.
And to the government, and we all are connected with various government functionaries. I think a lot needs to be done, but I always see the glass as half full. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. And can we talk a little bit about leadership within professional services firms, really? Because there is an old phrase that is used in law firms, and I suspect it's also used in accounting firms, that managing professional services firms is like herding cats, right? Because these are individuals, these are teams of people. What has been your, first of all, what was your motivation to be elevated to the managing partnership, to become the managing partner of KPMG Pakistan, and how do you see your role as a leader of a professional services firm?
Yes, I think there was a time, probably I would say 6-7 years back, when I had not even thought about becoming the managing partner of the firm ever, because I always felt that this is an area which either audit people or maybe someone from tax would be more relevant for this, because the number of partners, audit was the largest, still is, but others are catching up. And also the way the profession is demands, like from the Institute of Chartered Accountants, being on the council and other areas, it's generally focused towards the audit side of things and others. And even if it delves into partly advisory, then my area of advisory was a very specialized area. M&A area,
yes.
Deal advisory, that was a very, very specialized area, and not really belonged as much to a professional services firm as to an investment bank and all.
Yes.
Right. So it was like an outlier
yes.
within the firm.
Yeah.
So the advantageous part was that I had my own sort of domain. This is because it requires accreditation and very much of specialization, which started from my trip to London, UK, that secondment. At the end of that, I did a global corporate finance course and all. So I was like the person for that, and I developed my team, and also the relationships you had and all that. So I was fine in my area, and I felt that, and this is also a growth area naturally as the country is growing.
Yes.
This is also a growing area. So I felt very confident that I can spend the rest of my career in this area. Already become a specialist, so know everyone and all, and I will pursue my other sort of
interests,
interest
which we will talk about as well. Yes.
So, but there was a time when I felt that there is a need, because quite a few of our seniors were retiring, and the young partners were getting bigger in number, and also indirectly there were people who indicated to me that they would like me to lead the firm, and I thought that so I certainly evaluated the pros and cons, and what worked for me, and if I reflect, I think this is something which has worked for me throughout, and that experience with Mr. Azir Rahman was very handy in that, and also the upbringing certainly. So I think that is something which is underlying to every I would say in my case, every success which I have had, whether in my professional life or in my personal life, that is dealing with the people, having the comfort to deal with people and actually enjoying that experience, rather than taking it as a burden on yourself.
No, I've always noticed that.
So when you do that, and if as an extreme you bring into the fact that if it is a difficult person, then you take it as a challenge, that if you convert that difficult person, then that is, you take pride in that.
So can I, sorry, can I interrupt you there? So you mentioned this, you've mentioned this when a number of times about the role of seniors, right? Someone like Razir Rahman, seniors within your own firm, some of the founders of KPMG Pakistan. I wonder if this has something to do with your relationship with your father. If you feel comfortable, is there a connection there? Would you like to talk about that?
Yes. I think not just my father, but my elders. I think the main person I would start off with was my grandfather.
Okay.
So because I was the eldest in my household, so I had got opportunity to interact with my grandfather. I was 15 years old when he passed away, and we used to live in the same house. So on a day-to-day basis, I was with him. And he was an academician, so he was like, he taught at the household of Raja Sahab Mahmudabad in Lucknow, and so he was, and with him, I learned a lot of things indirectly, but also he taught me how to recite the Quran, and then English. He was an English teacher actually. So in that. So I think that respect first of all developed with him, and because father was certainly very much busy in his work and all that. Indirectly it all happened. But then with the joint family and also all the elders, various elders, and interacting with them, and a culture of respect, as I mentioned earlier, the upbringing, that is certainly that plays a
I picked up on that. That's why the question.
Yes. So certainly when I joined the firm, Masood Naqvi was our senior partner, and he was like a father figure, not just to me but to the entire
everyone
firm.
who worked with him.
And alongside him was Mr. Hussain Basrai. And these two gentlemen
the giants
were
they're the giants of the accounting profession.
And the way they had rooms, adjoining rooms, and there was a small door open between so that door was always open. They conversed with each other in those rooms. So they worked in tandem. And Masood Saab had certain attributes, Basrai Saab complemented him, and they balanced each other out, and he was the senior partner, he was the deputy senior partner. And I was fortunate that because I always give this credit to Mr. Razir Rahman, because it was he was the pivotal role in my career, because of him I got closer to Masood Saab and Basrai Saab at a very early stage of my career. And even the person who was from whom I took over, Mr. Amir Abbasi, he was the partner there. So with him as well, his sort of confidence in me at such an early stage that propelled you
and made you more visible within the firm,
within the firm, and gave me the confidence that I must be doing something right. And Razir Saab being the professional, he brought in his professional team, and there was this old team and I had this balancing act to play. So sometimes it can be diplomacy, sometimes it can be like coaxing people, but I think gaining the confidence and the trust, and which essentially is the motto of KPMG as well, that the trust, or for every profession, that primarily you gain the trust, and when you gain the trust, then everything becomes easy.
Then everything becomes easy.
So that helped me in coming into this role as well.
Yeah.
And the other thing which you asked me about the motivation. So my motivation primarily was that I felt that as we were discussing generally before we started the session, that now I have spent so much time in this firm. Now it's time to give back.
Yes.
And I felt that over the years I have experienced and I have wanted a lot of things to be done. If I can get this opportunity, I can try and correct some of those things or improve upon those things. And fortunately, I got a good, initially, a good team who was fully aligned. And then, alhamdulillah, the entire partnership was aligned. Right? I would like to put on record that we have right now, we have 39 partners in the firm. And we again follow the exact KPMG guidelines in terms of governance, which is followed in KPMG UK or US. So according to that, we were required to hold elections. And in those elections, 17 of our partners, including myself, were eligible to contest the elections of the senior partner of the firm, managing partner of the firm. And I was elected unopposed.
That's amazing.
So this means that the entire partnership is aligned.
Yes.
And so that is what. So when we all are aligned, it is very easy now to do things, right? So now the only challenge which I have is to prioritize that which things to do first.
Yes.
But alhamdulillah, whatever the plans are, whatever the ideas are, everyone is fully on board.
And that's incredible to have the trust and faith of the entire partnership in one person is amazing. It's the larger the partnerships, the harder it is.
Yes,
and
certainly.
By Pakistani standards, this is actually a very large number.
Yes,
39 partners is
and
very
3
large.
locations. Certainly locations have their own
and
dynamics.
how many employees are there?
So we have now more than 2,000 plus employees.
That's incredible.
And one thing again, maybe learning from some of the seniors or reading some material and all. What I did was that before taking over, because the elections were held somewhere in mid of September, then after that I had to select my ExCom and all that. So then I went on a whirlwind tour of the country, Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad and all, and I met each and every employee of the firm.
Yes.
And in different groups.
In
different groups.
From the junior most employee to the senior most employee.
So the office boys, starting from them to the partners, and individually with each partner and all. So I think that again gave me a good grounding in terms of which areas to prioritize.
Yes.
Because I am also part of the firm for so long, so I knew all those areas. But by meeting those people, I realized that what should be and then I set my priorities accordingly based on those interactions. And I shared that with my colleagues, the ExCom and the board and all, and after their alignment with the partnership, and alhamdulillah. So all of us are now not only that I am motivated, but the entire partnership is motivated that to do something out of the ordinary for our people and for our firm to elevate the brand to its rightful place.
Absolutely. And when you mentioned people, right? And I think this is something that is different for, say, a large corporation, a large corporate. When it comes to professional services, you're really talking about talent, right? You're talking about talent management, talent nurturing.
Right.
How do you see your role as the managing partner in that journey of the junior most accountant or a fresh graduate in bringing them up in the chain?
Yes. I think that is very critical, and this I keep on reminding myself and also my colleagues that one of the key objectives of our existence as a firm is to train.
Yes.
Unlike a normal corporate, is to train chartered accountants, right? So this is something, so we cannot just focus on earning revenue and profits. We have to keep our focus on this training
it's
element
not just
as well.
the bottom line.
Yes,
right?
because this is mandated for us.
Yes.
And also this provides us that strategic advantage which other organizations don't have. So we get much more access to the talent as compared to anywhere else, because people flock to firms like us, and then it's our job to train them and to nurture them and to get some of the best people to work for us, work for other organizations. We have a very large alumni and all.
Yes.
So this question I can relate to generally, but specifically right now we are going through an induction process.
Okay.
And as I mentioned about the XCOM, so what KPMG has stipulated, and we have followed to the letter, is that all the different functional heads should be part of the XCOM. So the functions are of two types. One is the revenue generating functions, one are the support functions. So revenue is in three areas, as we are sort of branded: audit, tax, advisory. So these are the three functions. So there will be a head of audit, head of tax, head of advisory. But then the support functions would be risk management, finance, people, and clients and markets. So when another condition of KPMG is that when you become a managing partner or senior partner, you should not be an engagement partner. So you are now the partner for the entire firm. And then on the positive side, not on a restrictive basis, there are a lot of things you should be doing as a managing partner or senior partner, which you would not have time to carry out engagements, and there are other people to do that, and maybe better people than myself, certainly in their own areas. Youngsters coming up, technology, those areas require specialization and all. Even the function heads are required to spend a significant time on the administrative side and do less engagements than a normal engagement partner. So I decided and shared with my colleagues that I'll focus a lot on the people area and the clients and markets area, because risk management and all are pretty settled sort of areas, and we have specialists in those areas. But these areas require my highest level of sponsorship to come to the forefront. So in the people area, the first thing which we did was that we are currently hiring. So in this, we hire twice a year in audit. So in March and in September, and the hiring completes in a month. So we are hiring some 220 odd people in this one session. So if you average that out, so you would be like anywhere between 450, 500 people in a year you hire every year. And these are trainees, trainee chartered accountants who would become future chartered accountants, right? So from day one, what we are trying to do is that certainly there is a very strong client base on which they get the experience, and we're working with trained people and all that. But what we have initiated and focused on, although we had this orientation and all, but a couple of things which we have done, which I believe that will bring about a lot of improvement in the short to medium term. One is that we went to IBA and outsourced them the aptitude test.
I see.
So we said that we will.
IBA is the Institute of Business Administration, which is the foremost leading business school in Pakistan.
In Pakistan, and they have, although they are primarily based in Karachi, but they have tertiary offices as facilities in Lahore and Islamabad as well. So we told them that, look, we will shortlist the applicants, provide the list to you, and then you conduct the tests. And you mark them and all, and based on your marking, then we'll call people for interviews and we will hire. So that process is now totally transparent, and the same test at the same time was conducted in Karachi, Lahore and Islamabad. And the sample, we saw the sample in the firm, the team, that sample test was shared with all the applicants, But the actual test, none of us within KPMG, we don't know, right?
I see.
So that is how, and then we are going for a very elaborate orientation program.
Yes, to include them in the culture of KPMG.
Yes, and because you see, all of us, I think certainly you also face this dilemma that we say that the product which we are getting is not of a certain quality, right? So whenever this comment was made, and now since I am in the driving seat, I tell my colleagues that look, there are two ways to deal with it. Either we open a school, right, from the kindergarten, and we train, coach people, and then we get a good stuff. And then we open a college and a university or wherever we are getting the inductions from. Otherwise, we spend some time to train them ourselves.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So in this induction program, we have got modules on how to dress, how to send emails, how to communicate with the client, how to sit in the office, how to deal with your seniors, with your juniors, with your colleagues and all. So all of this will be as if that we are taking a raw product
and molding them
and molding them before exposing them to the clients.
Fair enough.
So this is something which is again a very exciting area, and once this is inculcated, it will run through.
It will run through, and they will pass this on to others. Right?
Certainly.
So you're creating a generation of.
And the one critical thing which I have asked, and hopefully it will happen, and we are doing it on the 20th of May, is on the first day of that orientation, we are planning to ask the parents of those who have been inducted to join us, because when I started this discussion, I mentioned that the chartered accountancy profession still is a very difficult profession in terms of passing the exams. So it is a professional exam. So the parents need to understand what their daughters or sons are getting into, because it is the family support which that candidate requires. Because once you are unable to pass a certain exam, that it becomes largely psychological.
Yes.
That it's similar to like having an accident. That you had an accident, and the next time you are driving the car, you are a bit shaken that whether it was your fault or someone else's fault, or whether it will happen again or what. So So if there is support from the family
support.
Yes. So that is something which I intend to speak to the parents, and after congratulating them on the prized sort of position which their daughters and sons have secured, to give them that support, provide them that support when they need it. And this is where I would specifically like to mention my father, as you asked the question earlier, that in my career, I don't remember when I joined, even before, but maybe at that time I had become like an adolescent, and also when I joined KPMG as a trainee, during my articles till I qualified, there was not a single responsibility of the house which I had. Not a single responsibility.
And that's the kind of support that your family, your father gave you.
So that was just a silent support, right? This is not something which he asked me to sit in front of him and said that, look son, you will have no responsibility. No, he just did it. But I think that I give credit to, that is something which at the pivotal stage of your career, which you give, and the confidence you have and all. I
mean, look, it's the old adage, right? It takes a village, and it takes a village to sort of support you through your career and through your early journeys as well. But all of this that you're doing, right, in terms of molding these young people for tomorrow, for KPMG, wherever they end up, right? They may not stay with KPMG, they may go away. They take this with them. But this is all driven, and I think you would agree with that. It's all driven by from a client focus, right? Because this is what, as a professional services firm, yes, it's talent management. Yes, it's giving them an opportunity to achieve. Achieve for whom? Achieve for the client. Right? So it is a client focus, client centric approach, isn't it?
Yes, sir. You see, the way we operate is that client is at the focus of everyone. right? Because for the leaders, the teams can be of the focus. But for example, when I joined the firm on day one, and on the next day I was seconded, or I was deputed to a client, naturally, when I went there, I saw that what is my team. These people are also here, and I, along with them, will have to serve the client. So it was primarily the client, and the clients is what makes the firms, what attracts people to the firms, and all. So the client is certainly at
the heart of everything
the heart
we
of
do.
Everything, certainly. But alongside, in order to serve the client better, or to have different clients at different, like as we tell that for the HR people, for the support staff, the staff is the client.
That's true.
Right. So I always feel, and this is what I try to inculcate within my team and deal advisory team over the years, and now the entire firm is my team, that you should develop certain habits. It is not for a human or average human being. It is not possible to switch on and off, that with this person I will deal like this, with this person I will deal like that.
No, you can't.
If you have to be respectful, you have to be respectful towards everyone.
Yes.
Otherwise, you will
you will mess up somewhere.
Yeah.
You'll mess up somewhere.
That is very risky.
And one day it might be too costly.
Yes.
Absolutely. You've got to inculcate that within you.
So this, when you do this, then the boundaries are gone, basically, right?
And in a way, you're not trying. That is just who you are.
That's the way you
and
deal.
that is after years of being in client service. You sort of realize that is you've become that person who is there to I'll give you my example. So when my daughters ask me, they're still young, 11 and 8, they say, what do you do? I say, I help people, right? I'm not going to tell, my older one now understands the finer points of, contracts and agreements and promise that has to be kept. But my younger one, for her, what does a father do? Her father helps people. And this is in client service, this is what we do. And so, Adnan, I'd like to touch upon something that, so you started in Pakistan. Amongst the corporate sector. The very first, what we call the mushaira. In Urdu is called mushaira, in English is a poetry recital. It's an evening, most recently I believe it was held at Muhata Palace, and which is a wonderful old palace in Karachi, very close to where we are here, from here. And it was a wonderful evening. This has been going on for many years. This comes from your love for poetry and the arts and culture. How has that helped you in your life as a chartered accountant, as a deal advisor, as a leader of a professional services firm?
Yes, certainly. I think I always maintain that this fine arts, whichever form there may be, is always close to a human heart, and every sane human being would like all forms or some forms of fine arts, and so sometimes people are so busy in their day-to-day jobs that they don't focus on that, but as soon as you make them to focus, they would enjoy, right? So that is a given, I believe. In my family, especially from my maternal side, there was this passion for poetry, especially, and a lot of big names like John Elia and others were part of the household and all. So, but again, this is something which, like my maternal uncles, they were the ones who were very much into it. But they never, we never sat in front of each other and they taught me that this is how it's all sort of on a subtle level, that you are experiencing these things, listening about these, seeing books in your home, hearing about these things in discussions and various things. So psychologically you sort of develop that sort of area in your day-to-day lives and all, and you study and you enjoy poetry, enjoy good verse and all. So it all started when there is a corporate Pakistan group on a WhatsApp and all, but very high quality intellectuals and corporates and all that. And in that we were having some discussion on some matter, and somebody used a verse to explain something, and then a couple of other people shared some verses. And Asfar Ahsan, who is the founder of that corporate Pakistan group,
he's a public figure, yes,
and
former Minister of State for investments and chairman of the Board of Investment
and all that, and a very good human being and a very dear friend, like a brother to me. So he said, and I commented that Asfar, we should hold a mushaira. And he said that yes, we will hold it, and you will be the convener of the Mushaira committee. So that was the day, and then on this Saturday we had our 6th edition of that Mushaira, and almost 2,000 plus, around 2,500 people attend, and so all segments, especially the corporate sector. And I'm sure that a lot of people who attend that Mushaira do not attend any other Mushaira.
They don't.
And
I know for a fact they don't. Yes.
The best part is that the leading poets of the country, Iftikhar Arif Saab, who's currently, and Amjad Islam Amjad Saab, who passed away a couple of years back, they comment that, who have spent their lives in Mushairas, that this is the best sort of format and the ambience and overall, so all that adds.
The backdrop of Mohanty Palace. Is
and I was mentioning to someone yesterday that a lot of people in Karachi know me as the person who organizes that mushaira. They don't know
as KPMG.
About my KPMG.
Well, that's good, isn't it?
Yeah, that's good in a way that you have a
full life.
Yes, you have an alternate. But I think and similarly music also. I have a passion for music, especially Pakistani old ghazal and songs and all that, and that as well. There's a club, you can say, or a society which we have formed now, Sazo Awaz Music Society. So that also I was instrumental in organizing as a society, although it's a very old and very high profile people of the city are part of that, but I was glad to assist them in terms of organizing it in there. So these things, I think these, first of all, as you said, that these give you a perspective that you have a lot to do in this in this life, right? You have multiple areas. It's not just you are focused on one particular area, right? And it gives you the respite from the drudgery and from the routine sort of stuff, and gives you the flavor, because as we all have read sometimes in our lives that to have a peaceful mind, you need variety. It's not that you just switch off from something. You switch off from this and switch on with something else which is totally different, and different people have different passions. As we were coming through, you mentioned about your passion of these sculptures and all, right? And some people do gardening, people play golf, people have different. So there, I always encourage my colleagues, or especially the juniors, to have something else to do in life other than work. You have to have a life outside work. So that is the crux, basically. Now that life can be spent in poetry or music or some arts, sports or some other form of arts, but do something else, so that you do not take yourself, especially in work, too seriously. Yes. Because that is an error which we do, and when we do that, then our relationships are affected.
True.
Because if we take work too seriously, then we sometimes have difficult discussions with our clients, sometimes with our colleagues, with others, which is neither here nor there. There's no need for that, right? True. So if in a difficult situation you can recite a good verse of poetry, that takes care of and that brings down brings the temperature down, and it changes everything, right? Things which you do outside work actually help you even in your work. they freshen you up, but also the connections and all that they make is so I feel that if I were not to have these interests, I would not have been a balanced professional, because then I would always be too much focused on what is happening with the work and whether something, if we have won a project or we have lost something and all that. Now it's when I'm thinking about winning and celebrating that, at the same time there would be some discussion on some other mushaira or some other session happening, and then there's a spiral effect, because if you're doing that, the latest thing which I have done is that in the Karachi Literature Festival, I was called upon to be part of a session. And what was that session named? It was like the tradition of a shagird in the like a student, in classical music.
I see.
And I said, this is not my area, you will do it, Adnan bhai, no problem. So you have to moderate a session where the specialists are sitting there. So then I knew broadly, but then I studied it a bit, and then I came up with the questions, and then I asked those questions.
And
so
that's wonderful. It's a fuller life, as I always say, because look, particularly in the days of AI now, right? Look, some of these AIs will be able to do a lot of the basic stuff much better than humans will be. But at the end of the day, we're still dealing with people on the other side. And I do believe that arts, and particularly arts and fine arts, do bring you closer, as you said, to other individuals. And it is about making those connections. And
it makes you human, first of all.
True.
You realize that you are human. And reading all this stuff and listening to the giants and all, and then you deal with others as humans. So when you start doing that, then it makes life much easier. Thank
you so much, Adnan bhai. It's been a pleasurable, wonderful conversation, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.